Hey guys, this is Rob and welcome to the next tutorial series of video tutorials on how to create a Dmod. In this one we're going to be editing start1.c, or I'm going to be running through it with you. Now, first of all, if you open back up start.c, which I went through in the previous tutorial, and go down to where it says create the start button, you'll notice it does the create sprite line, which it uses to create sequence 194, which is indeed the start button. If you go into, let's open up this anyway because we might need it. Go into your sequences page and you'll see that sequence 194 is indeed the start button. So that's that. And then you'll notice the next line is sp script encrap, which is the local variable that is attached to this sprite that's created. Start1. Now basically what this is this is the equivalent of setting a script, basically attaching a script to a sprite in the properties page like we do. So what happens is they declare the, or they've already declared the local variable encrap up here, int encrap. They say encrap equals create sprite, all that, which is the start button. So now encrap is what's used to refer to that sprite, and then they say attach the script start1 to encrap. So that's what they do. So now that start button will have the start1.c script, which is what we're going to run through right now. So this is basically the script for the start button. Now you'll notice in the main procedure straight away local variable is declared encrap again, because as you know, because we've went through this, local variables can only be used in the same script they're declared in, so that's why it needs to be redeclared. That's not that encrap variable is local and it's not going to carry across to another script. So when they attach this script to the start sprite using sp script, they need to redeclare the local variable encrap in this script, and they do that in the main procedure. Now, void button on, you'll notice this is a new procedure you haven't seen before, and basically all button on is when the cursor moves over the sprite. So it's only when the cursor is active. So when the player moves over the sprite, like when the cursor moves over the sprite, all this is going to happen, which isn't much. And basically all it does is it changes the frame to 2, or p frame. This will set the frame basically at that moment, so it changes the frame, sorry we're using button on here, to 2, and then it plays the sound 20. You'll notice, let's get both of the frames out right now. That's frame 1, that's frame 2. So when the player mouses over it, it's going to start off looking like this, and when the player mouses over it, it's going to look like this, and then it's going to play the sound 26, which I mean, I'm not going to go over which sound that is because you already know how custom sounds work, but you'll hear it anyway, and you'll notice that's exactly what happens. It changes to frame 2 and it plays that like hitting thump sound kind of thing, which is sound 26. And then obviously void button off, you can imagine that's when the player moves the cursor off of the sprite. That's when it goes back to frame 1 and plays sound 21. Now click, void click, pretty straightforward, I shouldn't need to really explain that. That is when the sprite is clicked on with the cursor. And you'll notice that's when it comes up on the screen, say XY. Now say XY, I don't think I've gone over that yet. I've gone over say and say stop. Say XY basically is the same as the say command. You use your quotes. This is the color code. The percentage sign is white for color code, by the way. That's a text, and then comma, instead of putting a sprite here that's going to say the line, you put the x and y value of where you want the text to appear, and it's just going to appear at that x and y value. That's why it's say xy. So it's going to appear at x0, y 394, which is down the bottom in the middle of the screen. Okay, and then there's a wait1 command, which is lets everything else run and sort of keeps everything going. And then this is where Dink is going to start. So endPlayerMap is actually the needed variable that refers to what map screen the player is currently on. So if you change endPlayerMap, that will change the player to a different map screen. So you can see it's set when the player clicks, it sets it to 400, which is indeed this screen right here. So if we were to change that to say 432, so let's go ahead and do that. Save. You'll notice now if we start the Dmod, we're now on 432. So that's how you change the default start screen. So let's go ahead and change that back to 400 for now. And then you'll notice the next two lines here after these comments are the actual X and Y value. We've gone over SPX and SPY, so you can change them as well. They're the default X and Y start positions. I won't go into the Dmod and show you that in like working, because you've seen it before in a previous tutorial. It's pretty straightforward. Just experiment with it yourself. SP base walk. You know what base walk is because I've showed you for a sprite. But basically here we're changing the base walk of Dink to 70, which is indeed the Dink sequences, as you can see. So that's actually setting the player's base walk, setting the base attack to 100, which is indeed, as you can see, actually right now it's like the bow, but I'm not going to get into that at the moment. But basically each whenever a new weapon is armed, it automatically loads the correct sequences into these, the correct graphics into these sequences on the fly. So that's the reason that is. Okay, set mode 2 turns the game on, as it says in this comment right next to it. Reset timer. Now that's actually the total time played, so you'll notice when you save your game, it actually has a timer next to it for how long you've been playing for. This will just reset time to 0 to make sure that it's all starting fresh. SPDir, which is setting the direction of Dink right off the bat, so you can change this. As you know, just look down at your numpad to see your numpad refers to which direction. So 6 will be east, 4 will be west. You can change that if you want to south. That's the player's brain, so the brain 1 actually refers to the sprite that you control with the arrow keys and all that. Q0, so that's just making sure the depth Q is alright. No clip 0, we don't want Dink to appear on top of the status bar, so we want to set that to 0. And this is, you know about all this because I've also done that. Setting the player's strengths to 3, defense 2, magic 1. They're gold, and gold is the player's gold. We'll start them off with 0 actually, so we'll change that to 0. Save that. And if you go into the game now, you'll notice the gold's actually going to be set to 0. I'll just quickly show you that. Whereas usually it starts off on 25, so you can see down here is 0. And this here, I haven't explained this yet. I'll explain that in a later tutorial, but that's giving the player an item, which is item FST, which is a fists. Gives the player fists, which is good to start with. And current weapon actually automatically selects the weapon item slot number 1, and then arm weapon arms that item. So this is so Dink, after the item's added, Dink doesn't have to go in and arm it, it'll automatically arm it. Fill screen 0, we explained what fill screen does in the previous tutorial. There was a fill screen 255 in the previous tutorial, so this is going to fill the screen with 0, which is black, and that's basically just in preparation for the first room of the game, so it fills it with black, and then it's going to load the actual screen after that. So, and then this is what it does after that. It updates the status, and update status equals 1. This is another needed variable, and this basically determines whether the status bar should be displayed yet. You'll notice in some cutscenes the status bar isn't actually there yet. That's because this hasn't been declared yet. If you change end update status to 0 and then draw the status, by the way, this draw status line needs to be run after you change end update status, because this will actually redraw the whole status kind of thing. And it'll, actually register the update kind of thing. So basically, end update status 0 will be status bar not there, and end update status 1 will be status bar is there. So if we comment this out and save it, you'll notice the status bar hasn't appeared. Oh no. So you can see how that works. So until this is end update status is set to 1 and the status is drawn, then the status bar won't be there. And finally, the task is killed. And you know what that does? It kills the whole thing. So that, my friends, is start1.c. So yeah, you can play around with that. One last thing, rather than making separate tutorials because they would be very short and redundant, for start 2 and start 4, it's exactly the same concept as start 1. Start 1's for the start button. Start 2 is for the continue button. Same thing, it's got the button on, button off. Basically, this is for the load thing, so this has got a load procedure in it, which will actually is used to load the game, but I'm not going to get into explaining that in this set of basic tutorials, because that's not, you don't need to touch that, the default load game when you're creating a basic Dmod. So that's that, and the start 4 button refers to the quit, so that's attached to the quit sprite, and that's got the basically when it's clicked then the game's killed. That's this kill game command down here that's just going to quit the whole game, kill it completely. So that's all the start scripts covered. Thanks for watching. See you in the next tutorial.